Yo, dude, Joe Turney, cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
It's all you need to know
Yeah,
about cockroaches, lying to yourself, or even better, telling yourself the truth to completely open doors and empower yourself. That's what you're going to hear about in today's podcast. I absolutely love this conversation. When I first heard the story of the cockroaches, it was hugely impactful when we were, a month plus ago at the summit. And I literally have thought about this story every single day since late September because it was so impactful to me. And just the truth behind the cockroaches was was so profound and life changing for me, and I absolutely love it. And I know for a fact all our listeners are going to love this story.
yeah, for sure, man. And Joe opens up a little bit. He gets a little bit vulnerable, which I am so thankful for. Kind of talks about some of his regrets in his life as he was, trying to find success in his businesses, and his outlook on some of the stuff that he was doing, and he regrets missing out on. So listen to that. It's powerful, and you're gonna enjoy this show. So go listen.
You're listening to Filling the Storehouse podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Stuart, and we want to walk with you on the journey to living the abundant life through faith, family, and freedom. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours. Together, achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to intentionally fill our storehouse.
All right, so we are recording this on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I'm down here in my basement, and I'm looking around out here, and like there's just like wrapping paper and gifts and all kinds of stuff everywhere. And Joe Turney, our guest today, was just telling us before this that he recommended that we have a big family get together at least once every 6 months. And Joe, can you tell us why that is?
Yeah, I actually recommend it to everybody, either a family or a party. Basically, all the deferred maintenance at your house will get done every 6 months,
Yeah.
and every mess will get cleaned up and picked up. Everything you've been putting off will be done at least every 6 months. So,
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we have two November birthdays, my birthday and then my son's birthday, and so like we kind of had some little birthday parties, and my kid has like toys everywhere, and then also we just got a new puppy, so we got stuff everywhere. But today and tomorrow are like our like major clean days, and so we've already been like decluttering the house, and because we do have people coming over to our house for Thanksgiving. So I love that. That's great, man. Like we need to do more of this so our house gets clean and all the clutter gets put away, and maybe we'll get some stuff that we can get rid of eventually too. That's
yeah, I
good.
had a coaching student once who told me that her husband leaves his stuff sitting around the house, and it's just clutter, and she can't get him to pick it up. And I said, just have a party at your house and invite everybody he cares about.
It's
And sure enough, and then next weekend it was all picked up and
It's
clean and
all
put
picked up.
away.
That's good.
awesome. That's awesome. That's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah, we have quite a few people come over, and it gets clean often, but it's not the cleaning part. It's like
It's the
making
picking
money.
up. Yeah,
It's not making money, right? It's like making money. You can make money, and a lot of people find it easy to make money. It's keeping money.
yeah,
That's the key to success. That's the key to wealth is keeping money. And our house, keeping it clean, that's like the biggest hurdle that I just cannot seem to, and it's mostly the kids because they're filthy, disgusting creatures. And that's where we seem to run into a majority of our issues. But anyhow,
Yeah.
I like your idea, Joe. It's
Well,
good.
Joe, thanks for joining us today on Filling the Storehouse podcast. You spoke at the Life and Air Summit this year in Denver, as did David and I, and we really enjoyed the topic and the theme of your speech, and so we thought we'd have you on here to come kind of tell us over again what that was all about. But if you could, just for our listeners, give us a little background, who you are, where you are, what you do, and why we should listen to you.
Oh, well, I was honored to be asked. I mean, I thought you guys were the star of the show. I mean, I really enjoyed everything you guys are doing, and you're inspiring just to watch, even from a distance. So
Appreciate it.
I went home and told my two sons about you guys immediately. So,
Thank you.
um,
It was fun. We had a good
yeah.
time.
So
Well,
yeah,
and to
I'm
throw it back
Lance.
your way, Joe, I literally I said this before we hit record. I'm not even joking. Your your the story you told, the word picture you created has literally been something I've thought of every single day since the summit. I'm not even exaggerating. It has been that powerful. It's been transformative for me, just to think about. And it's so simple and it's gross and it's beautiful and I love it. But it has really made a huge impact on my life. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, that hit me one day when I was cleaning out a rental property. And it was like, how do people live this way? And it turns out they live that way because it's, or it doesn't bother them. Just their standards are a little lower. So, but yeah, so like a lot of people, we come from basic poverty. White country folks. Nothing, no. I would say poverty financially, but mainly poverty from information. We just didn't know anything. It's like I never met a person with money. I never met a business owner. Those were like unicorns. They live. Those people are just different from us. And I used to think, wealthy people were just, my family would just say stuck up. They were just too good for us. Like that kind of stuff. Those people don't associate with us, kind of thing. And what I learned out later is that's true because we had a bad mindset. It wasn't that they were stuck up; they just had higher standards than we did for everything in their life, and they wouldn't accept the things that we lived in every day. Um, and once that realization hit me, and I became aware of the world, kind of, wow, it wasn't the world that was the problem; it was our mindset. It was us, me, family. So, I had to separate myself from a lot of folks who were still in that way. And I went to, I latched on to Jim Rohn early on. If you guys, I guess you guys know him.
Oh yeah.
And I just, about 2 weeks ago, I just hit the limit of my original CDs I bought from him. Take Charge of Your Life. They're 30 years old and I've played them at least 200 times, and now
Wow.
the CDs have quit playing. You put them in, and they says you can't read the CD anymore. So,
That's awesome.
uh, so anyway, he changed the way I thought about things, and I realized that the only difference between you and any other person on the planet is how you think about your problems. It's the only. Um, and then if you think about what did God give you control over in this world, like I assume he gave us everything that we need to be functional on the planet. And so what do we have complete control over? And really, it's just our words. We get bad thoughts come in our heads. We don't have complete control of that, but it's just what we say, what we commit to. When you start speaking about your thoughts, that makes them part of you, it commits you to it. So that's really the only thing you have control over on the whole planet is what you're going to say about your thoughts. So, those two ideas combined together, and I got in and built a few large companies and went broke a few times. And I just learned over the years that it's really a mindset issue. The business that you're in is just a vehicle that expands or grows based on whatever your mindset is behind it. I don't
Hey,
know if
Joe,
that's a summary or not.
Joe, quick question. So, and I'm just curious, when you say you built some businesses, went bankrupt, broke,
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, what were some of the decisions, some of the things that caused you, the differences in who you were that caused you to go broke, those businesses to fail, versus now the person that is running successful businesses. So that's part A of that question, and then part two of that is I'm curious, from uh, from a mindset or whatever perspective, when you did do that, when you did fail, what caused you to keep getting up?
Um, the first question about the failure, you can always blame things, and looking back, it's real clear. But being from a country sheltered life where people around you are just brutally honest, you just trust people. Being naive and trusting in the business world was my downfall a lot. I, in my heart, believed that my business partners had my best interest in mind, um, even though we were just partners. And I had one of those fail because my partner did not have my best interest in mind; he had his best interest in mind. And the other one failed because I didn't have ownership I was paid a huge salary from a business, but that was the first naive mistake. I was like, you know, we're in this team together. If I help build it, they're going to take care of me, and that didn't work. So the next time around, I became a partner, but it was only 49%, and I learned that later that didn't work. So that was two sinkings of ships after years of work, And I bought in early to the idea you work, I heard somebody say work really hard for 3 to 5 years and build a business that'll pay you, and then you can, have all your time back. Well, heck, I did that 3 times. That was like 15 years. Uh, so, um, so I had a mindset shift early on through your standards. I had this mental shift early on that I was not going to follow the path that has been laid out to me. The blue collar steel working factory, 8 to 4, 7 to 4 for 60, 40 years. I just wasn't going to follow that plan, but I didn't know any other plans. So I had to go out and just look for stuff and find stuff. So I had some bad plans just because I didn't have any mentor direction. I never knew anybody with business sense or mind. So I had to learn it all from books and audio and tape. But the reason I kept getting back up is because it wasn't acceptable to me to have a life any other way. I wasn't going to accept it. I just wasn't going to. Now, it cost me a lot because I had bad partners and bad plans and I don't know if I made the best decision I could with the information I had at the time. So I can't say it was a bad decision. I just had bad information and guidance, I guess you'd call it that. So this last time, about 10 years ago, started over again. I had to dig myself out of a big hole, broke, had a negative net worth, which meant I owed more on everything that I had than it was worth. So I started looking around and said, who are the most stable people I know? Who are the people that have the life I want? This time I'm going to reverse engineer it. I'm not going to go after the business plan first. I'm going to go after the life first. Who has the life I want? Let's back up and see, how do I get to that point? And I had a friend of mine who was in real estate. He was, he had free time, he had money. He was like, tell me about, what do you do? He said, do you have any money? I said, no. I actually have negative money, so I have $0. He was like, well, to get in this game, you're going to need, 50 grand or better just to get started. Because he basically was kind of blowing me off. So I went home with a notepad, like, how can I come up with 50 grand? Like, the short version of this story is the only way I know how to make money is working by the hour. And I was a software engineer, knew how to do that. So I took 2 full-time jobs. I worked from 8 to 4 at one job, and 8 to 3, and then from 4 to midnight at another job.
Wow.
I did that for a year. I did that for a whole year. It was from 8 a.m. to midnight, 5 or 6 days a week, every day. But I took all the money from the extra job and put into a savings account. All the first job paid bills and debt payments and all that stuff. And I went back to my friend about a year later and said, I got my 50 grand. And he just stopped what he was doing. He looked at me and said, what are you talking about? Like, you told me if I got this money, you'd show me how to do this. And he just had this dumbfounded look. He's like, well, okay, then let me show you how to do this. And he kind of showed me how to buy the first house. He taught me about, the banks are going to loan you a certain percentage on a house. You can only pay so much for it. You just have to. So basically, I took every house in our market that had been on the market for more than a month, and I offered them 50 grand because that's all I had. And sure enough, somebody took it. It's less than half of what they were asking, but somebody took it. And
That's awesome.
I rented the house out and went and got a loan and got my 50 grand back. And that was the beginning of the whole thing. Within 3 years from that, I was retired. So I did.
So it finally worked. The 3 to 5 finally worked.
Yeah, this time it worked.
When you did it the right way.
This time I have good information. I have no partners to deal with. I have financial sense. I had a plan. I had all the pieces this time. Every other time I was missing a fatal piece, So this time, it worked and it stuck, and it's been going about 10 years now. So, we've still got that same 50 grand. We're still spending it over and over again.
So where are you now? You have just rental properties? How many rental properties
We've
do you have?
got, if you count doors, somewhere around 50 doors, and they're 70% paid for, 60,
Nice.
70% paid for. And cash flow is enough to support me and a full-time manager that runs the company and takes care of everything. And so that's about it. I don't really have a schedule, or my phone hardly ever rings. I just don't. Last year, I took maybe 2 or 3 phone calls out of the whole year. So I am finally getting the life that I wanted when I was 22. It's like
Yeah.
I just wasn't going to accept it. I wasn't going to accept the fact that this is not possible for me.
When you're only 30 now, right?
Yeah, roughly, plus or minus a few.
Plus or minus a few.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I imagine, the mindset that you've created, where you are right now would not have been possible, nor as successful or even as clear to your vision and what you wanted when you're in 2022 if you didn't go through all of that other stuff. And you definitely wouldn't have this message, which I want to get into this story about the cockroaches, because I think that story is such a powerful thing, and I think our audience will love that. But I imagine you wouldn't have gotten to that point without really understanding, because we've all been burned, right? We've been burned by partners, and Stu and I are very, very conscious of each other as well, because what's interesting, you said something, you said they didn't have my best interest in mind. And what's interesting to me is certain people are built a certain way. So I feel like every partnership that Stu and I go into, whether it's personality, whether it's fate, I don't know what it is, but I feel like, and our wives have even called us on it, been like, why are you so worried about them first all the time? Not that they're saying you shouldn't be.
That's the way I think about things. So I
Right.
assume everybody thought that way. So,
and they don't. They really don't.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I recently got burned in a partnership, and I thought they had my interest at heart, and nope, not so much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's get into the story. Let's get into the cockroach story, because like David said,
I know everybody's curious about that after you mentioned it.
I think it's powerful. Yeah. So you talked about standards, right? And whatever changes is what you are going to hold as unacceptable. So let's expand on that. What's the background of this and the cockroach story?
So this was kind of one of those moments where you realize the one thing that we all have in common is what we find acceptable. That's the one thing that kind of dictates our environment, our relationships, our finances. It's a reason people get out of bad relationships and get back into them. It's all about whatever you find acceptable. And I was cleaning out a disastrous rental one day from a person who wasn't bothered by low standards. The kitchen was just full of roaches. I mean, it was undescribably dirty. And so I took that picture and I went and I asked somebody, I said, tomorrow morning, this is a friend of mine. I said, tomorrow morning, if you went into your kitchen and you open your cupboard, you're still in your pajamas, half asleep, but roaches fell out of the cabinet down to the countertop and scurried across the way. And you turn around, you stepped on one, and it had this crunch sound to it. You're still not awake yet, so you pour your cereal in your bowl, and the roaches fall out of the cereal box into the cereal, and they're all over the place. I said, how long would it be before you started cleaning that up? How long would it be before you wanted to change that? And just about everybody always says the right answer. Everybody says immediately. I mean, that day I would start on. I mean, I wouldn't wait. I said, what if you had to go to work that day and you were tired when you got home from work? Would you go sit and watch TV while all that's going on? What? I went through all the common excuses people say. I don't have time. What if you didn't have money for the bug spray? What if you don't have time? What if you don't have money? What if you're tired? What if all these things? And nobody would accept any excuse. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. It's not acceptable. It's going to change. So then the point is, the reason people still have dealing with credit card debt is because it doesn't affect them the way those roaches do. If it truly affected you the way the roaches did, you would change it. And you'd be fast. It would be urgent. It wouldn't be go rest and think about it next month. It would be, you'd be working on it every day. It'd be an urgent emergency in your life to get this fixed if it affected you that way. So, I have a few extra pounds on. I used to be really bad. Now it's just a little bad. And I'm brutally honest with people. The reason those last few pounds haven't gone away is it doesn't bother me like the cockroaches bother me. And once you get honest with yourself and you get to that point where you say, there's really only one excuse that we should be allowed to say ever. The only excuse you're ever allowed to say is it's not important enough. There's no other excuse. If it's important enough, it'll get done. If it didn't get done, it's not important enough. And that's your only excuse. You should be allowed to say, go read the Go Getter, the Go Getter book where the guy has to go find the blue base. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. David, are you familiar with it, Stu? You guys ever read that?
I've read it. It's been a while. But yeah, it's good.
So basically, they're test people. They put all these roadblocks in front of people, and the only guy who made no excuse, gets the company. He gets the whole thing. But yeah, if you really live your life into yes or no, narrow it down to only allow yourself to say yes or no. Is my business running? Yes or no. Is my finances in order? Yes or no. No, there's no story, there's no excuse, it's yes or no. Is it finished? Yes or no. And the only excuse you're allowed to say is, I didn't call you because it wasn't important. I didn't, you can say I got busy and forgot and all this stuff, but it just wasn't important enough.
Yeah, I love that, Joe. That level of ownership is what really resonates with me. I love, because you get tired, and Stu and I are experiencing this a lot too, with the mastermind. And as we talk to folks, and what's interesting is one of the biggest reasons people say they don't want to invest in really recapturing their lives, being the best fathers, husbands, and friends possible is because they don't have time. And I'm like, that's such an interesting excuse. Like, let's just call it what it is and say, I respect it. This thing that you're offering me does not hit the threshold of being a priority to me. And there have been a couple people that have said that. I have so many things going on. I have other priorities, and this doesn't hit that level. And I'm like, respect. I love that. That's a great reason, because at least, and it's not about me. I don't really care. I believe in what we're doing, and I have no doubts I've already seen it, be hugely beneficial to dudes' lives. But I like seeing you be honest with yourself, and to acknowledge if you don't have time to play with your kids. It's not because you don't have time. I play with my kids. We have the same amount of time. It's just a priority. And so when you take that ownership, I also feel like it empowers you to say, you know what, this just isn't, to hear yourself say, you know what, kids, the time it takes to play with you just is not that important to me. It just isn't that important to me, because I'll tell you what, the message everybody else receives is that it's clear as day. When you tell me you don't want to hang out, or when you don't have time to hang out with me and I invite you to 100 things and you always say no, like the message is very clear. You don't have to tell me I'm not a priority. I just know. Your kids know. Everybody knows. So you should not be the last person that knows the truth for your life.
Yeah. And if you will, it's really painful to say that out loud too. I mean, it really, but if you will go through that exercise, you'll clean yourself up a good bit. I mean, you not allow yourself to say all you're allowed to say is yes or no. Did it get done? Yes or no. And the things that were most important to me did get done today. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Wait, and you say it's painful, and sometimes that pain should be good to feel, because it's very likely the pain that somebody else is feeling. If somebody else is I don't want to say victim strong, but if somebody else is impacted by your decisions, then there's a good chance that those people are impacted poorly, or in a bad way, and maybe even hurtful. And so you should tell that to yourself. You should be cognizant of what that feels like, because your message, like I said, could be very clear. to everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so and we had actually it was in our last Life and Air retreat in Denver in my group. There was a couple and they were talking about how they work too much. It's the husband's up at 4 a.m. working, doesn't have time for anything else with the family and the kids, and he's doing the business all by himself, and he wants to be more of a family man and spend time with his kids. And similarly, one of the other members in our group was like, well, it's just not a priority for you, right? If you were sitting in front of your kid and your kid asks you to go play football with you and stop what you're doing and work, and you don't, you basically just should tell your kid, hey son, you're not a priority right now. My computer is instead, or my work is instead. And that was like, whoa, light bulb moment. Oh man, that hit me just like really hard. I
Yeah.
can't tell my kid that he's not a priority to me. Right. So like
Yeah.
if you just make,
You're either gonna say it with words or without words. Like that's what David was saying, right?
yeah, right, exactly. And
Yeah.
I found that too. Like I would find myself on my phone, and David and I have been challenging ourselves internally, to the two of us, but then also in the Storehouse Mastermind to put the priorities on our calendar, right? So like a priority for me is to put put all electronics away from like 5 to 7 at night, and just be present with my family for dinner, be present with my kids if they wanted to go outside and play before dinner. And I'll catch myself not doing that, even if I put it on my calendar. And my son like knows, he's 5, and he'd be like, Dad, he'll call me out. He'd be like, Dad, put the phone away.
Yeah.
Put the phone away, Dad. And if I don't, I might as well just say, no, son, you're not a priority to me. My phone is instead. Right. And I keep that's in my mind now. And it's a huge shift in my mindset. And it really forces me to actually put my phone away, because I don't want to tell my kid you're not a priority.
I think we fool ourselves sometimes into thinking that we'll eventually get to the point where we won't do it anymore. Like
Oh yeah.
I bought into that. I'm going to work really hard for 3 to 5 years. I'm going to work really hard for 20-hour days, 3 years. Just give me 3 years and then I'll be out of it. What I didn't count on is having to do that multiple times. And, at 15 years into it, I missed my kids growing up. That's one of my biggest regrets in life is I spent all this time trying to get to a finish line that I was already at the finish line. All I had to do was just stop and look. And I was trying to get to a place by running on this treadmill, and they were just standing right next to me the whole time.
That's super powerful, Joe, and I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that. And I think that was one of the biggest drivers for Stu and I to start our mastermind, was hearing so many of our entrepreneurs specifically, but also our senior military peers say that exact thing. I regret that. And what you realize is the things that you regret are the things that are 100% oftentimes are right next to us.
Yeah.
Right. The things that are most important are right there. And whether it's hugging your kid and it's interesting because when you surround yourself with like-minded people and it sounds like you went out with the cockroach story and you're having these conversations, you can't forget it now, right? Like when I see my kids, I'm like, man, I only got so many hugs left whenever I want a hug. Like the kids are going to be gone, soon. When I in 10 years, soon will have happened, right? Like it's going to go like that. And so now, like they come in and I can give them a hug. I'm looking over here like as if my kids are walking in for a hug, but I can reach out and hug them now and kiss them whenever I want because they're a captive audience. They live under my roof, but that time is so fleeting, and I want to be able to look back and be like, okay, I gave them 1 billion kisses. Like I would like more now, but they're gone. And
we kind of fake ourselves out and to say 10 years, we got 10 more years, but that's 10 Christmas mornings is all you get. It's like 10, it's really, that's it. 10 Christmas. And think about how quick Christmases come and go. You got 10 of those, and that's your window of opportunity. For a lot of opportunities in life, it don't last. They go away, and you sometimes you get second chances. Right now the irony is I have time and money available, and my kids both have full-time jobs. Um, so here I
I
am.
mean, you can adopt Stu and I. We could be like sons that will come hang out, and you.
Yeah. So I told my sons that here's what happened. I fell into this thing, and I thought for sure I was going to have my freedom before you grew up, and we were going to go have this great childhood adventure, and it didn't work out that way because I had bad information, and I apologize for that. But I'm available now. I have resources now, time available. I can come to your house. We can go do things. So I'm here for them for the rest of my life at least. So
Yeah.
and
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because that's real. That's real life, right? I mean, we're all gonna, to some extent, we're all going to have,
yeah,
um, there's going to be a gap between the absolute ideal perfection, perfect life that we envision,
yeah,
and the reality of what we have. But the more that we can consciously and you sharing that, I pray it inspires me
yeah,
because I still have some time,
yeah,
specifically with the kids. But I pray that others are also, they recognize also from the other side of that you can, with information, mentors. Like I'm sure if somebody, some young military guy or gal was like, I really want to get into real estate, and I happen to be from Alabama,
hmm
that Joe Turney would be a resource that they could reach out to,
yeah,
right? And
absolutely,
and 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 they could, fast forward that progress. And so I think there's now opportunities to grow and to be mentored and achieve these things, but also be mindful of the cockroaches and what's acceptable, our standards, and not lying to yourself. I think is just such a powerful truth.
yeah. I think if anybody can get those three keys, you got not lie to yourself is number one. Just be brutally honest with yourself. You don't have to say it to anybody else. You can go to the bathroom and say it to yourself, but at least, you know, I, I believe when the Bible talks about the truth will set you free, I think that's the foundation of it is truth with yourself. I believe it's not necessarily all about the truth of God. Sometimes it's the truth of yourself, like being truthful for yourself. But then that, and then raising, and coming to terms with your standards. Like if you are in a pit, it's because that's acceptable to you. And man, that's hard to say. uh, um, if it truly is not acceptable, I've never seen anybody stay in a place that was truly unacceptable to them. I've never seen that.
So what do let's say someone's listening to this and they're hearing this and they like say, I do want to be a better dad. I do want to be a better husband. Um, what's what's the steps and action towards like changing their mindset, and saying like, fist on the table, this is not acceptable. Like what do they do? Like what's next?
Well, first step is being honest, right? Is
Yeah.
like what have I been doing? That's the first question to ask. What have I been doing for the last 2 or 3 years? What does my days look like? What is my time? Because in reality, the only currency we all have is just time. That's everything. Every currency is a universal currency. All currencies get exchanged into time. So that's what we have to spend. So what do we spend it on? What have I spent it on today? And is that working for me? You know, how does it look today? And what is that? What have I been doing? And how does that look today? So when you get that clear picture, then you say, well, what needs to change? And most of the time, it's just a time commitment. So for most people, their kids are busy at least 7 or 8 hours a day doing other things. So that's your window to opportunity to go do your own thing. But if you can't get your life in order in the same time it takes kids to learn algebra, then you probably got a bad plan, or you're not being productive enough.
Right.
You should be able to do anything in this world in the same time it takes a 10-year-old to learn algebra. It's just you should be able to do it. And if you're not, you're either being ineffective, inefficient, or you have a bad plan. There's something underlying to why you can't get things done. So, I mean, I'm just trying to be honest with people.
Yeah, no, and I think that honesty too. A lot of this, I'm holding up my cell phone, but
Yeah.
I think if you're also honest with your time and where you're spending it and your efficiency and your effectiveness, the time, if you truly care about it, right,
Yeah.
getting that done in 6 hours and having the time and not being busy, all great excuses that we all tell ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
You'll also realize, well, how much time did I spend on YouTube today?
Yeah.
How much time did I scroll Facebook? Did I set a timer on Facebook? Because there's all these things, and one of my favorite things to hear is when people are like, it's just kind of sterile that you try to schedule everything. Like
Yeah.
that your calendar has like your social media engagement and your hang out with the kids time and snuggle your babies and all these things that are on my calendar, and they're like so sterile. And I'm like, yeah, but when's the last time you did them? I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying, when's the last time you did it? When is the last time you actively controlled your social media time, that you actively snuggled your kids, that you built it in your calendar, that you actively went sledding, that you took your kids to do something that you're saying is important, that you dated your wife, that you dated your kids, that you did anything? When's the last time you did that? Maybe you should put it on your calendar because it's important, because you say it's important. So is Facebook is important? Is the TikTok video of somebody dancing or doing some stupid, swallow laundry detergent competition, is that really important? Is that where our time should go? And I think when we're honest with ourselves, it really is like, man, I waste a lot of time. This
Oh
has to
yeah.
change. That's a big cockroach. Or it's not, right? Or at
Yeah.
least you say, you know what? I love TikTok and watch people dance. It's my favorite thing in the world. So I'm going to do that. Okay, cool. But at least now you know.
Yeah. I saw a funny cartoon, just a side note, of a conversation between a time traveler who had came from the past into the future, and he bumped into this average guy on the street. He was like, "What is this thing you're holding in your hand?" He's like, "This is a device that allows me access to all the information ever known by humanity. It allows me to communicate with any person in the world instantly, and it'll calculate anything that I want to know." He said, "Well, what do you do with these?" I use it to watch videos of dogs. And
Of course, that's great.
That's good. So,
but yeah, I think a lot of times we engage or allow distractions because we don't want to face reality. I believe most of the time, if you are seeking out distractions in the form of television or phone or Facebook, it's because you don't want to really look around what your real reality is at this moment. It hit me, it still hits me. No kidding. This spring, I was sitting here, I'm at the lake right now. I was sitting here in the lake, and there was a channel on the TV that had nature scenes, scenery, just a scenery channel. And no kidding, I had this epiphany. I had it on a beautiful lake view on the TV. And I looked around, I got up and looked out the windows, and what am I doing? I was like, what?
You saw the filming
Go
crew. You
turn
saw the
TV off and
filming
go
crew
outside.
across the way.
Had the same view outside.
Yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, I think we all get that, but it's one of those deceiving, insidious things that get in, and you don't realize it's getting in sometimes until you look around and you can see it. And just if you eliminate all the waste from your job and your life, you can get it done 3 or 4 hours a day. Think about if you still have a full-time job, if your employer told you could go home as soon as your work's finished, what time would you go home today? That's a
quick.
good question to ask.
Real
That'll
quick.
really tell you how much, I'd be done in a couple of hours. I'd be going home.
Yeah.
And that shows you a little bit of how naive I was when I finally worked up the corporate ladder as a young man coming from our family. I'm talking about backwoods people, coming from that. I'd always heard about salaried people getting paid the same every month, no matter how much they work. I'd always heard that was like a dream. No kidding. This really happened. The first month I made it to a salaried position. My first week as a salaried worker. I went in early, man. I busted my tail. I got everything done that was possible on my work list. Around 10 a.m., I packed up my bags and I was leaving. And I left.
They're like, nah, you owe
Well, I
us.
left and I came back in the next morning and the guy was like, "What'd you go yesterday?" I said, "Well, I finished everything I had to do." So I went home. And they just looked at me like I was some kind of Martian or something.
Like,
Said
that's not how it
that's
works.
not how this works. And I was like, well, it's salaried, right? So you get paid for the job, not for the hours. And they're like, no, no. So the reality
We
is
should
we
be
could
looking at
also,
that system though. We should be looking at that system like they're like that comes from a Martian world, right? Like all the time. And I'm guilty. I
yeah,
am guilty. I'm a chatty Cathy. I'm a social butterfly. Like I'm a time waster, especially you put me in a group of people.
yeah.
100% acknowledge that. So I'm not. There's no judgment from me. But Joe, one thing you said, I just want to highlight this from our last podcast. We talked about the you said fantasy and escape, and I'll tell you, it was really interesting to me when you said that. It resonated because we talked about addiction in our last podcast, and the addiction cycle starts with fantasy, and it's this desire to escape your current situation. This is all addictions as well. So fantasy goes to routine, then acting out, and then your final step is guilt and shame, which because of all that guilt and shame, you now go back to fantasy to escape the reality of your guilt and shame. And so when you said it's when you said it a couple of times, it's nefarious and we lie to ourselves. This is like the process that our minds go through, and the things that we get sucked into, the cycles that are the most deep, dark addictions is very similar to what we're trying to, what we do when we try to escape our calendars and our reality and where we're at and our credit card bills. And it's just this cycle that never gets better. And you actually get deeper into it until you do what you said and you address it.
Well, and let me expand on that. I mean, the podcast that we were talking about was an addiction to pornography. But that could be an addiction to anything, right? Like it could be a work addiction. Like a lot of men that we know in our circles have a work addiction because that's where they get their fill. Like that's how they feel like they are providing and producing, and oftentimes that's at the expense of their families and their kids. And we're hoping that we can spread this message a little bit that, hey, that's might not be what you really, really want, right? Like you say you want to do this for your family, and in our real estate circles, specifically, a lot of people will say, I'm doing this for the family. I'm doing it to reach financial freedom. I want financial independence. I want passive income, but they work their tails off from sun up to sundown, and they don't spend any time with their family. The thing that they said they're doing it for.
I tell people all the time that, because of where I have come from, I see people, they want to start a business, they want to, build this thing to get their freedom, which you have to you have to do the work sometimes. You got to dig out of the hole. And I'm not gonna tell people don't do it. I'm just gonna say you need to have a good plan and be honest with yourself. Is it working or not? So if you've been working at a business part-time for over a year and your income's not higher than it was, get out of that. It's not working. You got to be brutally honest with yourself. And it either is working, your income's going up or down, or the same. It's not. So people get into this, I'm busy, I'm working, but they're not, there's no yes or no question being followed up. Is it working or not? So once a year, you need to do a reality check. Is your income up or not? And if you get an answer of no, if you have a bad year, that's one thing. But if you get an answer of no 2 years in a row, you got to pull the plug on that thing. You're going to spend your whole life, running on this. You think you're climbing a mountain, but you're just walking on a treadmill.
Yeah. What'd you say? Figure out how to make $500 a month and just do it over and over and over again.
Yeah. That's what I did. The first time I made money in real estate, I quit learning. I don't need to know anything yet. I'm good. I got everything I need to know. I just need to know how to do this better.
Yeah. Well, and that's also a trap that people get into is all the shiny objects, right? Even, I got into it. And maybe I'm better for it. I'm very well versed and knowledgeable on all things of different niches and assets and types of investing. But you listen to like Bigger Pockets podcasts, and you hear some awesome new strategies, some niche like every single week, and you're like, oh, this sounds fun. Ooh, this sounds good. This sounds great. Ooh, I'll do this. And
it's funny. I listened to their podcast and I heard them talking about what they call a BRRRR strategy, where you buy it, rent it, rebuy.
Yeah.
And I was like, they stole my stuff, man. I invented that.
That's what I do.
I didn't even know it was a
They should call
popular
that the
thing.
Joe Turney process.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yes.
tell
That's
people all
funny.
the time, just quit trying to learn how to ride your bicycle by reading books and going to seminars. You cannot go to a bicycle riding seminar. How many times can you go to this bicycle riding seminar before you just start riding? You're going to learn what causes crashes. You're going to learn how to, put band-aids on. You're going to learn how to fix chains, and you're going to learn all this stuff. But you're not going to learn it from a book and seminar. Just you
Yeah.
need somebody to push you along and get you going, and then the rest is on you. You need to start doing stuff.
That's great, man. That's good
Yeah,
advice.
and Joe, just to bring this full circle, everything that you guys were just talking about, and Stu highlighting these challenges, these issues. I think what what is so powerful, again, it goes back to those cockroaches, man. Like it really does. It goes back to what are you willing to accept? And I tell you, I don't know why it was such, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know for a
Oh no,
fact I'm not the only one, but
it resonated with a lot of people. Yeah,
oh, it's just that picture of like, and I look at it too, like you said, I'm like, man, I'm not happy with where I'm at physically. Like I want to be in the gym. I want to be, but it forced me to say, I'm cool with these cockroaches. I'm cool with the cockroaches that I see in the mirror. I am cool with it. I must be. I must be cool with
I have
it
to be. Yes,
because I am not actively every single day in the gym hitting it hard, where there are plenty of people that are. And
yeah.
they made that decision. The cockroaches for them just
Not
they were
acceptable.
done
Yeah,
with them. They were done with them. So it's no, I've loved that word picture. It's been literally been transformative. It has been something that, and maybe because part of the cockroach that I'm talking about is this, this fitness thing where I want to be
yeah.
fitness wise. And I see myself every day in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I'm like, man, I guess the cockroaches are good today, and I have this habit tracking app that Stu and I are sharing our
Yeah,
habits. And every time,
one of the people who was at the summit was a professional, a lady. She was a professional bodybuilder, and she sent me a lot of personal messages saying, it had become apparent to her that it was acceptable for me to be second and third place.
she's crushing it now too.
Yeah,
Erica, you're talking about Erica
yeah,
Payne, I'm
yeah,
assuming.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she is beasting the gym
She
and
had
like
became
her.
aware. She became aware that it was acceptable for her to be less than what she was, and
Yeah, it
it
made a
changed
change for
it.
her, man. I'm telling you, because she's in my group, and
Okay,
I
well,
see
you know
she.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I know exactly. Oh, I know. She's like sending her workout. She's sending her meal
Yeah.
planning is like on point. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then she's helping other people to reach their fitness goals, and a lot of that's cool to see that inspired, because it was a switch for her, and she's like, I mean, she was a professional bodybuilder, and she just wasn't doing it, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
And to her
and really
credit, she
being,
tore her ACL. Like she's coming back from a pretty serious injury as well. So
yeah.
but she's crushing it, and that's awesome.
But when it's
Cockroaches.
truly below your standards, it will be quick. You will change things quickly. It'll be dramatic. Everybody will notice. It'll quickly change. You won't be a gradual. You'll be working on it tomorrow morning when you wake up. You'll get up early and start on it because it's below your standards.
Such a good message, man. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us and speaking on this truth. It's powerful, and I hope our listeners take this and then like don't just hear it and then just go on about your day. Like actually change something. Like look at the things in your life that you say are unacceptable and like make it happen and make the change. Joe, how do people get in touch with you? You're in Alabama, so if anyone's in the Southeast and they want to learn about real estate or anything else, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, I don't really have any kind of courses or public. When I say I have time freedom, I have 100% time
That's
freedom.
awesome.
If you make my phone ring too much, you'll be eliminated. So, but email is the best way because I kind of sit down once a day or twice a day and just go through email. Joe@joeturney.com.
Okay,
JoeTurney.com. Joe@joeturney.com.
awesome.
Just drop me an email and we can talk about that. That's the easiest way because I'm with you. I think the phone takes away from my life more than it adds. So I don't take it out of my pocket unless there's a problem. So
It's good stuff, man.
Thank you, Joe. I love it. So consider myself so blessed to have. We were considering, the summit going that night, and I'm just absolutely, literally, thank God we got to hear Greg Denning
yeah,
speak, then you spoke after him. And I'll tell you, man, it was, for me, that night was absolutely life-changing. It was beautiful because of the things that both of you guys said. We've had you both on the podcast, as well.
Yeah,
And it just,
having to speak after Greg Denny is one of the biggest challenges in
yeah,
life.
I'll tell you, it was tough, but you
Yeah.
crushed it. You did a
good.
great job. You did a great job. And I'll tell you that it made a huge impact. There's two things that stuck with me that night. Live an epic life. He kept saying, talk about epic relationships. That really stuck with me. And then the cockroaches, dude. You're the cockroach guy.
You got to be known for something, I guess.
Yeah, you got to be known for something. But I'll tell you, there are so many people that you have blessed, that you're blessing, you don't even know about, and just so thankful for you. And just that message, that word picture, that you took an opportunity, which is disgusting, and most people try to forget about it, and you turned it into something that is really resonating and powerful. So thank you, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm honored to know you. So I tell everybody about your program too. So.
Well, appreciate it. Guys and gals, hey, reach out to Joe. Hey, if this meant something to you, one, let's take action and make some change. But two, share it. Share this episode. Share, the message that Joe talks on. And hey, most important, let's all go fill the storehouse.
Yeah, make it a great day, friends. Thank you.
See you.
My dude, I love Joe Turney even more after that podcast. I really appreciated him getting vulnerable and honest. And I'll tell you, it really inspires me to reassess my standards and what I find acceptable and what I find unacceptable, and to do something about it. Just as we're always beating this, we always are beating this drum, but to not only do that, but to take a very in-depth look at who I am, the roles that I play, what I desire to be, and then to set standards in every one of those areas, and then to do something about it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you just thought about the words, he talked about the words that we're saying. If your son asks you to go throw the football and you're on your computer and you say no, basically the words you're saying to your son is, you're not important right now, right? You're not the priority. That's not most important to me right now. Think about that. That's powerful. The words that you're saying to, your family members, your kids, your wife, your friends, your coworkers, whoever that is, right? It's important and it's powerful. We just did this exercise in the Storehouse Mastermind where we define the roles that we play in our family, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, defining those, and then writing down what it takes to meet that definition. And it's powerful. And then you put action steps so that you calendarize it, and then you're held accountable to it by other people with a like-minded goal. We did this exercise. We created a PDF for it. You can get that for free. And take some time to do it. Go to storehouse310.com/roles, storehouse310.com/roles. Do that exercise. It's powerful, but what's even more powerful is if you do it with a group. Do it with the Storehouse Mastermind. Get in a like-minded group of people that's forcing each other to get better. You can go to storehouse310.com/mastermind, hit that join now button, and come join us. It's awesome.
Do it. Take action. No more excuses. No more I don't have time. No more I'm busy. Do it.
Boom.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Thanks for listening to Filling the Storehouse. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe and share it with someone you love. And if you really felt inspired, leave a 5-star review so we could continue to grow and help other Christian entrepreneurs fill their storehouse. If you're interested in creating financial freedom through real estate investing, be sure to check out our website at storehouse310turnkey.com. We'd love to serve you through our platform of building the kingdom. Just click on the contact link and we'll reply to you as soon as we can. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go fill your storehouse and make it a great day.